Klay Thompson could change everything in Los Angeles. The Lakers may be one move away from changing everything, and Bronny James could feel the consequences more than almost anyone in that locker room. Klay Thompson's name is once again being connected to Los Angeles, but this time the situation feels different. This isn't simply about adding another famous veteran. It's about a Lakers team built around Luka Doncic, searching for championship-ready shooting, a Dallas team facing its own roster decisions, and a young Bronny fighting for every opportunity he can get. If Klay actually lands in purple and gold, somebody's role is going to change. According to the scenario surrounding these trade discussions, Thompson would welcome a return to Los Angeles, a city where he spent part of his childhood and still has strong connections. That immediately makes this more intriguing. The Lakers need perimeter shooting. They're operating with a crowded roster, and Klay remains one of the most recognizable shooters of his generation. Even if he is no longer the devastating scorer from his championship years in Golden State, defenses still understand what can happen when he gets clean. Looks from three, but here's where this gets uncomfortable for Bronny. Every veteran guard or wing Los Angeles adds creates another obstacle between Bronny and meaningful NBA minutes. He spent his early career trying to prove that he belonged, developing through South Bay and fighting through enormous scrutiny because of the name on the back of his jersey. Now imagine finally seeing a path toward a larger role, only for the Lakers to potentially bring in a four-time champion who can help Luka immediately, and there could be even more at stake. Trade concepts surrounding Los Angeles and Dallas have involved multiple players in contract, meaning the Lakers could reshape more than one spot before opening night. Nothing is finalized, and proposed packages should not be confused with an agreed trade. But the larger message is impossible to ignore. Los Angeles appears focused on winning now. That creates the real question hanging over Bronny's future. Can he force his way into the rotation while the Lakers continue chasing established talent? Or will another blockbuster move push his opportunity even further away? Where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city or country in the comments. If you believe adding Klay would move the Lakers closer to a championship, come on. If you believe Los Angeles should protect minutes and opportunities for its younger players, come on, dude, and subscribe. Because this Klay Thompson story could become much bigger than one trade rumor. Why the Lakers are seriously looking at Klay. The Lakers are not circling Klay Thompson because of nostalgia. They are looking at him because their roster has a very specific weakness, and everybody around the league can see it. Los Angeles needs dependable perimeter shooting around Luka Doncic, especially if the franchise is serious about turning this roster into a championship contender right now. Luka can bend a defense by himself. He can force double teams, drag big men into uncomfortable spaces, and create open looks that most guards never generate. But those openings only become dangerous if the players around him can punish defenses for leaving them alone. That is where Klay becomes fascinating. Even in the later stage of his career, defenders still respect his release. They know what happens when he gets his feet set. They know one open three can become three open threes in a matter of minutes. And for a team trying to maximize Luka's prime, that kind of gravity has value beyond a box score. The problem is that bringing Klay in would not happen in a vacuum. The Lakers already have a crowded roster, and any serious trade construction would require contracts, young players, or future flexibility to move in the opposite direction. Different proposed frameworks have included names such as Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, Dalton Knecht, Cameron Carr, and other pieces designed to make the salary math work. None of those concepts should be mistaken for a completed deal, but they reveal something important about the Lakers' mindset. Los Angeles is willing to consider disruption. That matters because a front office willing to move multiple pieces for a proven veteran is telling the locker room exactly what it valued: winning. Now, overweighting later, and Klay may not be the only prize in some theoretical structures. PJ Washington has also surfaced in larger trade ideas, giving Los Angeles a potential combination of shooting, size, and playoff experience. Put players like that around Luka, and suddenly the Lakers start looking less like a team developing towards something and more like a team trying to force the championship window open immediately. For Bronny James, that shift changes everything. Because once a team enters win now mode, development minutes become harder to find, mistakes become more expensive, and young players are no longer competing only against each other, they are competing against veterans with rings. Bronny James is standing in the blast radius. Bronny James is not driving the Klay Thompson trade conversation. He is not sitting in front office meetings. He is not deciding which contracts get moved or which veterans the Lakers should chase, but he may be one of the players most affected by the outcome. That is what makes this story bigger than a normal trade room. Bronny's entire NBA path depends on opportunity. He was never drafted as a finished product. He entered the league as a developmental guard who needed repetitions, confidence, defensive improvement, and real game experience. Every extra minute matters when you are trying to climb from the edge of the rotation into a dependable role. Now imagine trying to make that climb while the Lakers add another championship-tested guard or wing. Klay does not need 30 shots to affect a game. He does not need the offense built around him. His value comes from understanding spacing, movement, timing, and what winning basketball looks like under pressure. Coaches trust players like that because they know where to stand, when to cut, and what decisions to make late in games. That trust is exactly what Bronny is still trying to earn, and this is where the pressure gets real. If Klay arrives, the Lakers are not going to sit him so a young guard can learn through mistakes. They would be bringing him in because they believe he helps Luka win now. Every playoff-tested veteran added to the roster pushes developmental players one step further down the line. Bronny has already experienced how difficult that line can be to cross. He spent much of his early development bouncing between NBA opportunities and South Bay assignments. He showed flashes, but flashes are not the same thing as a guaranteed role. He still needs consistency. He still needs possessions. He still needs coaches to trust him when games actually matter. And now the roster around him may become even more competitive. That does not mean Klay's arrival would automatically bury Bronny's career. Competition can sharpen a young player. Learning from veterans can accelerate development, but there is a brutal reality in the NBA. Development only works if there is eventually a path to the floor. Bronny has already spent his young career fighting to prove he belongs. Now, he may have to prove he belongs on a team that is becoming less patient by the day. Bronny's rookie journey was never normal. To understand why another veteran addition matters so much, you have to understand how unusual Bronny James' path into the NBA has been from the beginning. Nothing about his arrival was ordinary. When the Lakers selected him with the 55th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, history followed immediately. He was not just another second-round prospect. He was LeBron James' son, joining the same organization as his father, creating the possibility of something the league had never seen before. Then it happened. Bronny and LeBron shared an NBA floor, creating the first father-son pairing to appear together in league history. The moment was emotional, historic, and unforgettable. But once the cameras moved on, the real work started. Bronny was not walking into the league as a dominant college star. He was a developing guard coming off a difficult freshman season at USC, and there were real questions about whether his game was ready for NBA competition. His early minutes reflected that reality. He did not immediately become a rotation piece. He spent significant time with the South Bay Lakers, where he could play through mistakes and handle a much larger offensive role. That is where the picture began to change. Across 18 G League appearances cited in the source material, Bronny averaged 6 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 7 steals. Those numbers did not erase every concern, but they showed something important. When given real minutes and responsibility, he could produce. At the NBA level, the opportunities were much thinner. He averaged just 3 points in limited playing time across 27 regular season appearances, but one performance stood out, giving close to 30 minutes off the bench. Bronny delivered 17 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and a block. For a young player under constant scrutiny, that night mattered. It was evidence that there might be more underneath the surface than the small NBA sample had shown, and that is why every roster move carries so much weight. Now, Bronny's development has depended on getting enough room to grow. If the Lakers keep filling that room with proven veterans, he may have fewer opportunities to show that the player seen in South Bay can become the player Los Angeles can trust. The pressure of being LeBron James's son. Most second-round picks can struggle in relative silence. Bronny James never had that luxury. Every missed shot became a debate. Every turnover became a social media clip. Every quiet night became evidence for somebody who had already decided he did not belong in the NBA, and hanging over all of it was the same accusation that his last name mattered more than his basketball ability. That is a pressure very few young players players have ever experienced. Bronny was not simply trying to develop, he was trying to develop while millions of people judged whether he deserved to exist on the roster at all. The scrutiny became so intense that even people around the league started reacting to it. LeBron publicly defended his son. Other players reportedly took issue with the way Bronny was discussed. The conversation stopped being only about basketball and became a larger argument about fairness, opportunity, family influence, and how much criticism a young player should absorb before he has even had time to grow. Bronny's response was ultimately the only one that could matter long term. He had to keep playing. After strong G League performances, he spoke about proving that he belonged and continuing to work despite the criticism. That mindset became central to his story. He could not control the headlines. He could not control the television debates. He could not control whether fans believed his father influenced the Lakers' decision. He could only control the work. And for a while, LeBron's presence inside the same organization created an unavoidable layer of protection and attention around him. But the situation described in the source changes that dynamic dramatically. The Lakers are no longer being framed as LeBron's team. Luka Doncic is now the center of gravity. The franchise is being constructed around a superstar entering his prime, and every roster decision is being judged by one question: does this move help Luka compete for a championship? That means Bronny's last name may matter less inside basketball decisions than ever before. If he wants minutes, he has to earn them. If the Lakers add Klay Thompson, he has to compete with him. And if Los Angeles keeps choosing proven veterans over developmental patience, Bronny will eventually face the most important test of his young career, not whether he can survive criticism, whether he can survive competition the first time. Klay said no to the Lakers. The most dramatic part of this Klay Thompson story is that Los Angeles has already been here before. Back in the summer of 2024, the Lakers did not casually inquire about Klay. They pursued him with real urgency. LeBron James reportedly made a personal recruiting call. Los Angeles explored ways to create the financial structure necessary to bring Klay in. The Lakers believed his shooting and championship experience could fit perfectly beside their stars. For a moment, it looked possible. Klay was leaving Golden State after more than a decade. 4 championships, historic shooting performances, and one of the most successful partnerships in modern NBA history. He was finally choosing a new basketball home. The Lakers wanted that home to be Los Angeles, but Dallas had something powerful working in its favor: Luka Doncic. At the time, Klay had the opportunity to join Luka and Kyrie Irving on a Mavericks team that appeared capable of competing for a championship. Dallas offered basketball logic, offensive freedom, and a superstar creator who could generate the exact kind of open shots. Klay had spent his career punishing, so Klay chose Dallas, and that decision left Los Angeles as the team that came close but did not finish the deal. The irony is that later reporting suggested the Lakers had discussed a potentially larger financial commitment than the contract Klay ultimately accepted with Dallas. If that framing is accurate, then his choice was not simply about chasing the biggest paycheck. It was about the basketball situation. He chose the Mavericks because of what playing beside Luka could mean. That detail is now the center of the entire story, because the player who helped pull Klay toward Dallas is no longer there. The league changed, the rosters changed, the relationships changed, and the team Klay rejected is now built around the same superstar who originally helped convince him to choose somewhere else. You could not design a cleaner NBA plot twist. The Lakers wanted Klay, Klay wanted Luka, Klay chose Dallas. Then Luka ended up in Los Angeles, and suddenly, in the door everybody thought had closed in 2024 is open again. Luka Doncic changed the entire story. One trade changed the meaning of every decision Klay Thompson had made. When Luka Doncic moved from Dallas to Los Angeles, the logic behind Klay's original Mavericks choice was turned upside down. Think about it. Klay had chosen Dallas in large part because of the opportunity to play beside Luka. He could space the floor while one of the most creative offensive players in basketball controlled the game. Luka could draw 2 defenders, force rotation, and create the exact type of catch-and-shoot chances. Klay has built a career around, then Luka left, and he ended up with the Lakers. Suddenly, Klay was still in Dallas while the superstar he had wanted to play beside was wearing purple and gold. That is why this new Lakers connection carries more weight than the average rumor. Los Angeles can now offer something it could not offer the first time: the Luka factor for Klay. A move to the Lakers would not simply be a return to Southern California or a chance to play for another iconic franchise. It could reunite him with the offensive partnership he thought he was getting when he chose Dallas in the first place. For the Lakers, the fit is equally obvious on paper. Luka thrives when shooters punish help defense. Klay has spent his entire career mastering off-ball movement, relocation threes, quick releases, and split-second reads. Even if his athleticism and defensive impact are not what they once were, the offensive geometry still makes sense, and that is exactly why Bronny has reason to pay attention. The Lakers are no longer building a sentimental roster around family history. They are building a functional roster around Luka's prime that changes the standards for everyone else. If Klay gives Luka more spacing than a younger player can provide, the veteran gets the minutes. If a playoff-tested shooter gives the Lakers a better chance in May and June, development becomes secondary. That is the cold calculation behind Win Now Basketball. And it explains why this rumor keeps returning. Klay's first decision was built around Luka. Luka's move to Los Angeles may now be the exact reason Klay gets a second chance to become a Laker. Dallas has reasons to move Klay now. From Dallas's perspective, the situation may be just as important as what Los Angeles wants. The Mavericks have roster decisions to make. The source material describes a team carrying more standard contracts than it can ultimately keep, meaning something has to give before the regular season roster is finalized. That alone creates pressure. Then there is Klay's age, contract situation, rôle, and the direction of the roster, Klay is not a long-term developmental piece. He is a veteran whose greatest value comes from helping a contender right now. If Dallas is shifting toward a younger core and a different timeline, holding on to him only makes sense if the organization believes he still fits its competitive plan. Otherwise, trading him becomes logical. His recent production also creates an interesting market. He is not the unstoppable version of Klay, who once buried teams in 5-minute explosions, but he remains a dangerous three-point shooter. The source cites a season in which he averaged 7 points while shooting 3% from deep. That is still useful, especially for contenders. Dallas also reportedly has little incentive to simply let him walk away for nothing. If the Mavericks believe a trade can return assets, salary relief, or roster flexibility, they have every reason to explore it. Instead of pursuing a buyout, that is where Los Angeles enters the picture. The Lakers have contracts they may want to move. Dallas has roster pressure of its own. Klay could welcome Los Angeles. Luka is already there. On paper, enough pieces exist for trade conversations to become more than fantasy. But there is another complication. Miami has also been mentioned as a possible destination. That means Los Angeles cannot assume it controls the market. If another contender decides Klay's shooting is worth the price, Dallas could use that interest to increase leverage or simply choose a different deal. The Lakers already lost the Klay sweepstakes once. They know it can happen again. And the longer the situation remains unresolved, the more pressure builds on both front offices. For Bronny, every new report means the same thing. The roster he is trying to break into may still be changing, and the next move could make his path either clearer or much harder. What happens to Bronny? If Klay arrives, if Klay Thompson actually becomes a Laker, Bronny James would immediately face the biggest competition test of his young NBA career. The first consequence would be obvious. Klay would not come to Los Angeles to sit at the end of the bench. If the Lakers trade assets to acquire him, they would expect him to play meaningful minutes beside Luka Doncic, especially in lineups where shooting and spacing become essential. That pushes everybody else down. For Bronny, who is still trying to establish himself as a dependable rotation guard, those minutes could become even harder to find. He may spend more time developing with South Bay. He may have to win opportunities through defense. And their transition play and improve shooting rather than waiting for the roster to open. Naturally, the margin for error becomes smaller because the Lakers would have another veteran option coaches can trust when games get tight, but that is only one side of the story. There is another possibility. Klay could become one of the most valuable veterans Bronny has ever been around. Few players understand movement shooting, championship preparation, and the mental pressure of huge games better than Thompson. Bronny could study how Klay creates space without dominating the ball, how he prepares for defensive attention, and how a role player can become essential next to a superstar. That kind of education has real value. The question is whether Bronny can turn it into production quickly enough, because the Lakers described in this storyline are not waiting around. They are building around Luka's prime. They are exploring veteran upgrades. They are trying to create a team that can survive playoff basketball, not merely develop young talent at a comfortable pace. That means Bronny's next step cannot simply be show improvement. He has to show usefulness. Can he defend NBA guards consistently? Can he knock down open threes? Can he make quick decisions without stopping the offense? Can he earn trust when every possession matters? Those questions become even louder if Klay walks through the door, and that is what makes this entire rumor so important. For Klay Thompson, Los Angeles could represent a second chance at the move that never happened. For Luka Doncic, it could mean another proven shooter beside him. For the Lakers, it could mean another aggressive step toward a championship. But for Bronny James, it could become something much more personal. A test of whether all the criticism, all the G League work, all the pressure, and all the promises of development have prepared him for the moment when opportunity stops being given and has to be taken. The bigger lesson behind this Lakers gamble, if the Klay Thompson story tells us anything, it is that the Lakers are no longer operating like a team with time to waste. Every move around Luka Doncic now carries one message: Los Angeles wants to win. And it wants to win soon. That is why a player like Klay still matters. He brings experience, shooting, composure, and a championship resume that younger players simply cannot replicate overnight. But there is a cost to that strategy. Every veteran added to a win-now roster takes away some developmental space from someone else. For Bronny James, that could mean fewer minutes, a tougher climb, and less patience from a coaching staff focused on postseason results, yet that does not automatically make the move bad for him. In some ways, the pressure may force Bronny to become a better professional faster than he would in a more comfortable situation. That is the real lesson here. Young players cannot control trade rumors. They cannot control front office priorities. They cannot control which veteran walks into the locker room tomorrow. What they can control is preparation, discipline, defense, shooting, decision-making, and whether they are ready when an opportunity finally appears. For the Lakers, the smartest path is balance. Chase a championship, but do not completely abandon development. Proven veterans can help win important games, while younger players can become valuable pieces if given the right structure and expectation. A strong organization does not have to choose between experience and youth every single time. It finds a way to make both work together. For Bronny, the answer is even simpler. Compete without resentment. Learn from veterans instead of viewing them only as obstacles. Let pressure sharpen the game rather than turn the locker room into a battle of ego. In a league built on competition, the healthiest response is not hostility. It is preparation. And for Klay, whether he stays in Dallas or eventually reaches Los Angeles, this next chapter should be about fit, purpose, and finishing his career in an environment where his experience still matters. The Lakers may eventually make the trade, they may not, but one thing is already clear: Bronny's future will not be decided by his last name, one rumor, or one roster move. It will be decided by what he does when competition gets harder. If you believe Klay Thompson would make the Lakers a stronger championship team, come on. If you believe Los Angeles should protect more opportunities for its young players, come on, dude. And if you want more NBA trade news, player drama, and the biggest stories around the league, make sure you subscribe, like, share, and join the conversation in the comments.